a good time to reminisce and think about the shoulders upon whose shoulders upon whom we stand, and that is our professors and our days here at Occidental. For Jack's years in Congress and government, 22 years, Occidental really did prepare both of us well. And until the 3 months last year during the campaign, you didn't hear much about me because I was raising our 4 children. And that reminds me of my favorite story of this past campaign, which was that a few days before my 60th birthday, which Jack announced on national television, Mark McEwen on the CBS morning show started to talk to me, but Jack, of course, interrupted and said, "Can you believe, Mark, that this woman has 11 grandchildren?" And I said, "Well, so do you." And we went later that day to Pueblo, Colorado, and as we got off the plane, a woman said to me, "Mrs. Kemp, I cannot believe that you have 22 grandchildren." Speaking of the campaign, it was a great joy to us wherever we went around the country to see so many Occidental alums. And for a small school, it's amazing how we have permeated all areas of the country. Sometimes there are people that went to school with us. Sometimes they weren't, and those were the ones that would come up behind us and whisper, "Io Triumphi." This truly is a great honor, and now as you hear from Jack, I will just say to you that it's been a great joy and pleasure for me to have represented Occidental in some small way on the East Coast. Thank you.
Well, the campaign was a joy to me as well, until Bob Dole announced that he wished he'd run with Tiger Woods. That was, with all due respect to Tiger. I just want to say to all of you, the young and those of us who are gray, what an honor it is to be here today on this, the 110th anniversary birthday of our beloved college, Occidental. Thank Jim Rhodes for introducing me as a former football player, a former congressman, a former HUD secretary. Now I'm a former next vice president. Our grandson, Kyle, who lives up in Seattle, introduced me to his Sunday school class in Seattle as a former very important public servant. But I join a lot of very important public servants from Occidental College. Alfonso Bell, Congressman Al Bell. Stand up, Al. I want to salute you as a former great. Pete McCloskey, Bob Finch, there were you, Alexis Johnson, Ambassador Johnson, Ray Ewing. So many Occidental men and women have gone on to public service, but that's not to say that public service is the only way to serve this country. And I just want to say, whether you teach, whether you're in school today at the most exciting time in the history, I think, of the world, whether you're in business, helping to be on the board of trustees. I'm on the board of trustees of Howard University, I think our nation's most prestigious historical black college, along with Colin Powell and a lot of other wonderful men and women. I want to salute the board of trustees, Jenny, and tell you that I personally appreciate, and I know John Slaughter does. And I say to John Slaughter how much I appreciate his leadership and friendship over the years. And to Dean Scott, remind me of Dean Culley, my dean who saved my skin many a day at Occidental. And I'm looking out at some of my classmates who remember how close Mora, Botchin, Rodionoff, and Kemp came to having to leave Oxy at times. My favorite story of the campaign is when I came into, I went to Yale University last night, excuse the expression, to speak. I was a Chuck Fellow, and a young student on the campus at Yale said, "Mr. Kemp, you're so optimistic all the time. When did you finally recognize that it was over? When did you realize, most of all, that it was over for you and Bob?" And I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I never played a game that I didn't think we'd win. I never threw a pass that I didn't think would be completed. I never win a huddle that I didn't think we'd score a touchdown. You don't always win, you don't always score, you don't always have a championship. But it came home to me the day after the election. True story. I don't know why politicians have to label their stories true. I walked out of my home, Bethesda, Maryland, not far from John's old University, Maryland University, where we first met. And I went down and sat in the back seat of my car and started reading my paper. I was there for 5 minutes before I realized I had no driver. That was the most ignominious nature of my... It was to Joanne and me, representing in no small way Occidental College, running as a Republican, a bleeding heart Republican, a bleeding heart Abraham Lincoln Republican, was a great joy. It really was democracy in America. In 1830s, de Tocqueville went all over this country, and he discovered the genius of America. And he said it wasn't our fertile fields, or our boundless prairies, or our harbors, or our rivers, or our mineral deposits, or our resources. It was our people. And then he went on to say and conclude that great book, Democracy in America, by saying America's great because she's good. And if she ceases to be good, she'll cease to be great. I think our goodness will not be measured by GND, albeit that's important. I don't think it'll be measured by the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Soviet Empire, the fall of fascism, communism, socialism. Apartheid is gone from the earth, prayerfully forever. The real question is, can we build a democracy worthy of the founders? And Founders Day is a good time to remind ourselves of what the founders of this country, albeit flawed, and the big gap between our promise and our performance, that's a continuing revolution that goes on and rests on the shoulders and in the hands of all the young men and women at Occidental, the teachers, the professors, the board of trustees, the president, the dean, and all those who care so profoundly about the education that young men and women get at Occidental College. I said this is an exciting time to be alive. I can't imagine a more exciting time. We're living in an age of incredible opportunities, but not for everybody. And bringing everybody into the American dream seems to me to be the real classic case of why Occidental College was founded 110 years ago. I want to conclude my remarks. I know that's going to come as a shock to some of you who've heard me speak before. I'm the Hubert Humphrey of the Republican Party. He used to say he didn't think he spoke too long. He enjoyed every moment of it. I stand on a lot of people's shoulders. You mentioned Dr. Gilman, Dr. Arthur B. Coons, Dr. Cully, Bob Malcolm, my PE teacher from Bancroft Junior High School, who encouraged me to go to Occidental College because he knew what a great school it was. Peyton Jordan, Roy Dennis, a lot of friends that are too numerous to mention. I just want to acknowledge, as an old physical education major from Occidental College, there's hope for all of you guys. We're looking forward to seeing you after this brief event. I was trying to think of something that in some small way could capture for me what it means to be alive, albeit 61 years of age and 4 children and 11 grandchildren, and in the 4th quarter of my life. I went to Oxy, it was all white. I guess Chauncey Paw was, as an Hawaiian, was our football player of color. I want to thank John Slaughter for opening up this great college to men and women of backgrounds that are just of incredible proportions in this world. I think Tiger is kind of a metaphor for maybe even Occidental, even though he didn't go here. He's Asian, he's Thai, he's Native American, he's African American, and he's European American. But hey, he is an American through and through. I grew up in West LA. Went to Fairfax High School with a young guy back here by the name of Bernie Sherman, who was my best friend in high school, and he and Bernice are still dear, dear friends of ours. He went to UCLA and I went to Oxy. 2 roads diverged, maybe not in the woods, but they diverged in the jungle of West LA. He went to UCLA and I went to Oxy. I'm so grateful for that. About 5 miles away, Jack Kemp. His mother had moved to Pasadena. Yesterday we celebrated the 50th anniversary of his breaking a huge barrier in professional sports, baseball. I was thinking about that, John, when I flew out here. There's a great article by Ira Burkow in the New York Times last Sunday celebrating the Jackie Robinson story. I don't know if you guys read it, but you ought to read it. It's a wonderful story. It was a diminutive little shortstop for the Dodgers by the name of Pee Wee Reese. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky. His daddy was a redneck Southern person who probably had ever played baseball or football with a black guy. Pee Wee was born in Louisville, shortstop and captain of the Dodgers. The day of the game, April 15, 1947, the Dodger baseball players passed a petition around the locker room saying they wouldn't play with a black guy, Jackie Robinson. Jackie was first base and Pee Wee was shortstop. So he was captain of the team. The petition came around the locker room. He tore it up. Just stopped it right there. They went to Cincinnati 2 days later, and the booing was so loud the public address announcer could not get his voice heard to announce the starting lineups for the game. So Pee Wee, when the spitting and the booing was totally unstoppable, he put the ball on the mound, walked over to first base, put his arm around Jackie Robinson, and the booing stopped. Every now and then in our life, somebody has to do something predicated upon what is right, what is moral, what is leadership. And in my opinion, both Jackie and Pee Wee did more to make sure that I could play pro football with black guys and white guys and Latinos. It's an amazing world. But that's what democracy ultimately must be in the economy, in education, in sports, in the arts, and in the sciences. So I close my remarks today with the words of Nelson Mandela, who, when he accepted the presidency after 27 years in a prison, with the white guy standing next to him who was his jailer, Frederick de Klerk, as his vice president, he said these words as he looked out on an audience of black and white. He said, "You are children of God. Your plain, small lives does not serve our society. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people do not feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within each and every one of you. It is not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And as we let our light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated today in Cape Town, South Africa, from our own fears, our presence today automatically liberates others. I believe with all my heart that Nelson Mandela helped liberate white South Africa. And may I say to you, I believe Jackie Robinson helped liberate white football players from Occidental College 50 years ago yesterday. God bless you, this college. Thank you for being here. And let me tell you, Joanne and I are deeply honored by this wonderful award of alumni and alumnus and alumna. I majored in physical education. God bless you all.